Yeah.
McGriff played with 6 teams. I think that really hurt McGriff a lot. And also, Starkville didn't have these monsters beefed up on steroids playing
No.
with him, and McGriff did. And we can have, I argue with people on Twitter all the time about this. You probably see it. A big argument you get is, well, what about the 60s and amphetamine? And be greedy. Well, okay, amphetamine to keep you awake. Steroids bulk you up in baseballs really far. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's a great point right there. Yeah, and for that matter, I've heard of Len Dykstra, drinking pots of coffee during a game or something of that nature. To get up and all this sort of. So, anyhow, other Braves, by the way, that are on the ballot, but it looks like a long shot. Andrew Jones, a 5-tool player, certainly, but was he worthy of Hall of Fame status? I still can't believe Dale Murphy isn't in. That's my big, this guy should be in the Hall of Fame. Billy Wagner, from Southwest Virginia, from Marion and Richfield, as a matter of fact, but he's getting those McGriff totals. It's real tough for him. And plus he's only a relief pitcher. I've always been, and I think this is the way it's going to go in the future, where we may see fewer pitchers, because how can you vote for a guy who throws 1 inning a game? That sort of thing. And Sheffield, who also has the juicing rumors, but does have more than 500 home runs, which used to be a standard bearer, not anymore with the steroid era, but it used to be, if you had 500 home runs, you were going into the Hall of Fame. That was, that was the mark, that sort of thing.
Well, Mariano Rivera, here's my hot take, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Mariano Rivera, I think, is a Hall of Famer, obviously, and what he did in the postseason was amazing. Surefire Hall of Famer. Right now, he's at 100% of the vote, and he's going to be a shoo-in. Well, okay, Billy Wagner has more strikeouts, a better strikeout per 9, a lower whip than Mariano Rivera. He's got the lowest opponent batting average in baseball history. If Billy Wagner isn't a Hall of Fame, lights out, just dominant closer, there never was one. He's got a better whip than Eckersley. He's got a better whip than Gossage. Several, Lee Smith. He was. What hurt him was, I think, playing for some lesser teams, and he had a really small sample size in the postseason, and it wasn't good. He didn't do well in the postseason, but it was a really small sample size compared to Mariano Rivera. But Billy Wagner, if you really look at it, you could really argue that he's got a strong Hall of Fame case.
You have just become the favorite baseball podcaster of the Tri-Cities area, or at least Southwest Virginia. Yeah, it's with that comment on Billy Wagner. Yeah, absolutely. You just won a lot of friends right there, Josh Brown of Knockahoma Nation. What can I say? I just, you talk about Rivera. Yeah, of course I'm going to put him in. All-time saves leader. We can say that saves is overrated, but I'm not denying what Wahoo Sam Crawford has 311 triples. I don't have to hear the rest of the story. That's enough for me to put him in the Hall of Fame. Okay. But I think of Mariano Rivera, you know what I think of? I think of Luis Gonzalez in the 2001 World Series and not holding on to that lead. And for that matter, I also think of Sandy Alomar going yard with 2 outs in the 8th inning for the Cleveland Indians in 97. The home run he had to hit at that moment, or else the Indians do not win that series. Mariano Rivera allows that home run to Alomar, opposite field. Indians come back in the game, win it in the 9th, win it the next day in the division series, go on to the pennant. That's what I think of Mariano Rivera. When they say how great he was in the postseason, I don't know of a Grover Cleveland Alexander moment, and I know that he's had 100 years for striking out Tony Lazzeri to, be talked about and such, but I don't have that with Rivera. Those are the 2 postseason moments that I remember from Mariano Rivera. Say what you will. Would I vote for him? Yeah.
I thought I was going to dunk on Mo, and then you just come in and just break the backboard. It was, I love it.
I mean, no, say what you, and these people, and he's not going to be the unanimous Hall of Famer. There's never been one. But Ken Griffey Jr. had the most votes, as like 99.3% or so. I once remember reading a great column by Mike Downey, and it was, why wouldn't you vote Lou Brock for the Hall of Fame? Really? Why wouldn't you vote Lou Brock? All these people didn't vote for Lou Brock. How is he not a Hall of Famer in your list?
Right.
And it was like that, but there you go. Now baseball has to be prickly, that sort of thing. So, where do we go from here? I do want to ask you a little bit, and I mentioned this. Major League Baseball, I've had this story on the shelf for a couple of months, is going to launch an elite league for high school baseball players. Now, we know in today's day and age, you just don't make it playing high school ball, or for that matter, even just American Legion. There's travel ball. It's sort of like AAU in basketball, or for that matter, travel hockey and the juniors, that sort of thing, to become an NHL player. But do you have any thought on Major League Baseball launching an elite league for high schoolers? I mean, could that actually, nobody follows AAU basketball. They follow high school basketball. Could that actually be just another step that, although you think, okay, better player development, that much less of a reason to grow up playing or watching baseball? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know much about it yet. I've read a couple articles about this, but it sounds like it's a really good first step. I think that there's a lot of improvement that needs to be done, but it's I think anything that can help high school kids with baseball in a cheaper way, which I think this is doing, is fantastic. I think.
Okay.
As we've talked about before, Marky, when you talk about youth baseball before college, it is just so expensive. It's camps that these kids go to that they spend $1,000 to go to. It is travel ball has honestly, it's made it into kind of this white elitist sport, and these kids can't afford to play. And what happens is, and this could be a whole other show. You have MLB franchises fighting for talent in places like the DR and Panama. So I think this is great. I think it's great for baseball, and I'm a huge. I get on my soapbox about how baseball needs to. They're losing a whole demographic of kids, of African American kids primarily. And when you look at baseball, I mean, the only black guys playing is like Andrew McCutcheon, that's it. And maybe two or three other guys. And so it's you're losing all these kids because NBA is just killing it, in my opinion, with marketing. And they're making it easier, more accessible. And same with football. I mean, football, if you're an 8-year-old kid, I mean, shoulder pad and a helmet, and you're off the races. And baseball, it's really tough. It really is. And then college football has really hurt it as well, because if you're a 10th grade dual athlete kid, well, you find out really quick that you get a full ride in football, but not baseball. And so you just put all your eggs in the football basket, and that's what's happening as well. I think anything that can help with high school baseball is fantastic.
You mentioned Andrew McCutcheon. He penned a couple of years ago a big piece on, why would you choose college football versus minor league baseball? And his reasoning was really with the scholarship that you get, and as well as the fact that, if I was a wide receiver for the Florida Gators, he's from Florida, and so, if I was that, even if I never made the NFL, I could always, and I'll use this term, drink for free in Gainesville if I was any kind of a ball player, and so business opportunities would come to me and all this. Let's look at what a Florida education really costs. And I'm not developing my mind if I'm playing minor league baseball. Minor league baseball, you get a nice bonus and you're said, keep that, put it in the bank, and everybody wants to buy their car with it and go out and, have the real, great month or so of living the high life, and it got with their posse, and it evaporates real fast, and then they find themselves playing in the Florida State League in anonymity and eating cereal for dinner because that's what they're being paid. Oh, I mean, and it was a great story about what the differences were and such. Yeah, I was thinking another great point you make is the lack of baseball scholarships that there are in college. I was thinking the other day, geez, why is there a Venezuelan summer league, a Dominican summer league, and minor league baseball that these organizations have, but, we don't have an American summer league. I mean, there's the Appalachian League or the Gulf Coast League, don't get me wrong, but there isn't a similar one. And I said, well, that's what college baseball is around here. But when you're paying your own way for that too, yeah, this is a problem. It's a big problem as well. So
absolutely,
that's something I want to touch upon. I think a big story though we got to look at with the Braves. What's this? Joe Simpson is being replaced in the Braves booth by Jeff Francoeur. This is another old story, but we haven't talked about it. So Francoeur is going to be the TV broadcaster. Tom Glavine, a very bright guy and a helpful guy, will be working a lot more games as well on TV. But Simpson is going to be just the radio announcer, I guess, working with Don Sutton. It's a great crew that the Braves have. Don't get me wrong. They've always had great broadcasters. But that's big. Simpson out, Francoeur in, or at least Simpson on the radio. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I've got some controversial thoughts about it. I think it was mainly political news. I like Jeff Francoeur. I think he's fantastic. I think he's actually going to do a great job. I really do. I'm happy for him. But they did it for political reasons. Last year, Joe Simpson got in trouble twice over, in my opinion, nothing. He made a comment during batting practice when the Dodgers were, I think, in Atlanta. And the Dodgers players were all wearing T-shirts, and some of them were wearing their baseball pants without socks. They're kind of like they were wearing capris or something. Mm-hmm. And Joe Simpson, who's just an old school guy, had a harmless opinion about it, and he said that he thought it just looked unprofessional. And he also said that, if you're a kid with your dad watching the batting practice, well, the name is on the back of the jersey, so you don't know who's who, and that's all he said. Well, what happened? Because it's 2018, or it was 2018, and everything's sensational, and all these guys want clicks and views on their website, they freak out, and they write these sensational articles about how Joe Simpson, bashed the Dodgers for being unprofessional while they were wearing, wait for it, strike out cancer T-shirts. Well, Joe Simpson had no idea they were wearing, cancer T-shirts, and he was just making a harmless observation, which was his opinion, about how he thought it was just unprofessional. And so he actually got suspended, I think, for a game or two. It was crazy. It was nuts. And he had to come out and apologize, because 2018. And then a couple months later, the Braves are playing the Nationals, and Joe Simpson makes a small comment about Juan Soto. So to the and Simpson says something about, he's a great hitter for 20 years old, if he really is 20. And it was kind of a joke because Soto looks like he's about 35. And so what happened? Everyone freaked out. Someone played the race card, and he had to apologize again. He gets kicked off, I think, for a weekend, like a weekend series because of this. It was crazy. And so I think the Braves were feeling a lot of political pressure and wanted to distance themselves from the old curmudgeon that is Joe Simpson. And I feel bad for Joe Simpson. I'm a huge Joe Simpson fan. I think he's fantastic. He might not be the most exciting announcer in baseball, but I think he's great, and I think he got the raw end of the deal. That's my personal opinion. And he actually, from what I read, wasn't happy about the news and was kind of bummed about it. But he's a stand-up guy. I think he's going to do fine on the radio. And at the end of the day, I think Frenchie is good, and I think he will do well with outspoken on some things, I think, than Joe Simpson is. So that'll be funny in a year or two when all these, social justice warriors get mad at Frenchie for saying something about whoever.
I couldn't agree with you more. Certainly as a sports talk show host, I mean, my job is to make hard-hitting and at times controversial opinions. And, there's a difference between, calling for the assassination of public officials and here's a team wearing T-shirts and batting practice. This is not a good look. One is a legitimate opinion. One should be, let's get the other guy off the air, that sort of thing. And to try to suspend, I agree totally. I don't know where we're going. I could even show you, it would be student media, but I could even show you an article written by a gentleman named T.J. Jefferson, who wrote a book called That's What She Said. He's a good friend of Ashton Kutcher, and I could show you a sports column that he wrote in college, T.J. Jefferson, criticizing a baseball team for wearing T-shirts as uniforms in a baseball tournament. Yeah. So there you go.
It's the times we're living in.
Yes. Anyway, all right. Now then, I know you wanted to mention Harper, Machado. I think the comment